It is often have 3 to 4 bowel movements per day, while young children typically have 2 to 3 per day. This is the X-ray of a person who is suffering from the this very much problem, that is constipation. There may be a lot of reasons for constipation. Like common causes include slow movement of stool within the colon, irritable bowel syndrome, that is IBS, and pelvic floor disorders. Underlying associated diseases include hypothyroidism, diabetes, Parkinson's disease, celiac disease, non-celiac gluten sensitivity, colon cancer, diverticulitis, and inflammatory bowel disease. There may be some, there may be some side effects of the medication if a patient is suffering from these type of ailments like diabetes, hypo or hyperthyroidism, Parkinson's disease. So this can be the side effect of the drugs that are taken during the medication. The medications associated with constipation include like opioids, certain antacids that I already discussed in my previous lecture, that aluminium and the calcium containing antacids, they cause constipation, and that is the reason that why these aluminium and calcium containing antacids and magnesium containing antacids, they are given in combination so as to avoid either diarrhea or the constipation. Other medications like calcium channel blockers and anticholinergics. Of those taking opioids, about 90% develop constipation. Yet you have heard the right thing. That is 90% develop constipation. It is more concerning when there is weight loss or anemia, blood is present in the stool, and there is a history of inflammatory bowel disease, and the case may worsen itself, or colon cancer in a person's family, or it is of new onset in someone who is older. The treatment of constipation depends on the underlying cause and the duration that it has been present. It may be acute, it may be chronic. Measures that may help include drinking enough of fluids, eating more of fibers, and exercise. If this is not effective, laxatives of the bulk forming agent, osmotic agents, stool softeners, or lubricant type, it may be recommended. Stimulant laxatives are generally reserved for when other types are not effective, and in rare cases, the surgery is needed. In the large intestine, when the digested food or the indigestible matter, it stays for a long time because of the problem in the peristaltic movement, because the food is or the undigested material, it is passed on through the peristaltic movement, like this type of movement is there so as to push the food towards the or the undigested material towards the large intestine. But what happens if that, due to our sedentary lifestyle or due to some problems, the peristaltic motion is not there? So, because of this thing, the food has to, the undigested material has to stay there for a longer time, and the large intestine, it keeps on extracting water from it. So, it becomes hard and hard and hard, and ultimately it is developed or it causes the constipation. Coming to the treatment of constipation should focus on the underlying cause if known. Because unnecessarily we cannot keep on giving the medication. We have to take the proper history of the patient, whether it is due to his or her sedentary lifestyle, or it is due to due to some medication or some type of food material that he or she is taking. The National Institute of Health and Care Excellence, that is NICE, it has divided constipation in adults into two categories, that is chronic constipation of unknown cause and constipation due to opiates. In chronic constipation of unknown cause, the main treatment involves the increased intake of water. And that's why these days, and even in the previous days also, a lot of water is recommended. but it should not be in between the taking the meals because it will hamper the process of digestion. But in general, lot of fibers and lot of water intake is required. In chronic constipation of unknown cause, the main treatment involves increased intake of water and fiber, either dietary or as supplements. The routine use of laxatives or enemas is discouraged, as having bowel movements may come to be dependent upon their use. And you all must agree with me that too much habitualism of any sort of medication, it is dangerous. Whether it is taking up of antacid, whether it is taking up of some painkiller or these type of laxatives or the medications for controlling the constipation, they must be discouraged because it will lead to the dependence. The fiber supplements, like soluble fiber supplements such as xylem, are generally considered first line treatment for chronic constipation compared to insoluble fibers such as wheat bran. Side effects of fiber supplements include bloating, flatulence, diarrhea, and possible malabsorption of iron, calcium, and some medications. However, patients with opioid-induced constipation will likely not benefit from fiber supplements because if it is because of the lifestyle or sedentary lifestyle, then the supply of the use of these fiber supplements, it will help out. Xylem, for example, isabgol or such type of fibrous materials. But if it is due to some medication like opioid-induced constipation, then such type of fiber supplementation will not help the patient. There are the term that is cathartics. What are cathartics? There are actually so many remedies to get rid of this problem, the constipation. Cathartics are the drugs which are used to relieve constipation. In medicine, a cathartic is a substance that accelerates defecation. Defecation is the process of removal of the excreta or waste product from the body. It is otherwise called as laxative or purgative. The term actually it is one and the same thing. The main thing is depending upon their strength, whether they are mild or weak, mild or they are very strong, depending upon the strength of the capacity of the drug. So it is otherwise called as laxatives or purgatives. What? That is cathartics. The term laxative, it is used for mild cathartics, and the term purgative is used for strong cathartics. Laxative, cathartics, and purgatives act by retaining fluid in the bowels because it is because of excessive, lack of water that is present in the bowels. So what they do, they act by retaining fluid in the bowels so as to ease in the defecation process. Constipation is relieved by non-therapeutic measures like increasing the fiber content of the daily diet intake or increase daily fluid intake. If it fails, the laxatives and purgatives are used. Naturally, first of all, we should try for the natural remedies. If they do not work, then only we should switch over to some medication like laxative or purgatives or any other medication. The intensity of their action, that depends upon the dose. Laxatives eliminate soft, semi-solid stool, and the purgative lead to watery evacuation. They may be administered by oral route like suspension or powder, and by rectal route through rectum, that is enema suppository. The prolonged use of laxatives and purgatives may impair the intestinal movement or and either or both of these cause laxative habit or dependence. The main problem is that the movement of the peristalsis, that is not regular, or that is uh, by using these purgatives or laxatives we are simply inducing the movement. So if it is not in a proper way, with continuous use of these laxatives, or they will ultimately affect the intestinal movement, or they impair the normal intestinal movement, and habit formation will be there. Best care from constipation can be obtained taking more fiber in the diet, including fresh fruits and natural laxatives like whole cereals, leafy vegetables like spinach. These days, so many green leafy vegetables are available in the market, specifically in these days. Raw carrots, cucumbers, salads, papaya, water, etc. And there is one more fact that if a patient is suffering from constipation, or if his body is immune to such type of problem, then he or she should skip even one time a meal also and replace it with such type of green leafy vegetables or the salads like carrots, cucumber, salads, papaya, etc. The order of effectiveness is described as follows, like they are called as aperients, to smooth and soften, evacuant, to empty or to vacate, purgative, to clean, and cathartic is the high dose, that is to completely clean off or completely swipe off. Coming to the classification of cathartics, they are classified as mild purgatives or laxatives, and these are the substances which cause or promote defecation with minimum side effects. The drugs included are the drugs which come under the category of purgatives or laxatives. Mild purgatives or laxatives are isabgol, agar-agar, methyl cellulose, sodium carboxymethyl cellulose, gum, etc. Isabgol is very commonly used in our homes. Agar-agar, it is a natural source. Then methyl cellulose, TMC or sodium carboxymethyl cellulose, and gum. These mild purgatives can be of further different types like bulk forming drugs or bulk forming purgatives. These are the drugs which act by increasing the bulk of intestinal content. The bulk forming drugs, they act by increasing the bulk of the intestinal content. These materials swell into the intestine. When they will swell into the intestine, when they come in contact with water, and what will happen? They will swell and they will increase the stool bulk volume. If that is in the particular opening, if that bulk is increased, okay, then what will happen? It will try to stimulate the peristalsis. It will try to stimulate the peristalsis. So as I already told, that it is like this type of motion. So if it is the bulk is swollen, then it will push out and it will try to stimulate the peristaltic movement, and the patient will get rid of the problem. Then there is the second category, that is stool softeners or emollients. The drugs which penetrate, lubricate and soften the stools, they are called as emollients. Which penetrate, lubricate and soften the stools, they are called as emollients, because the problem is that the stools become very hard and they are difficult to pass. So what will happen? They will not do anything. They will simply lubricate and soften the stools, and the patient will get rid of the problem. For example, these are like liquid paraffin, D-octyl sodium sulfosuccinate. Then the next category is the strong purgatives. What these strong purgatives, as the name indicates, these are the compounds which cause fast and complete evacuation of the bowels. Fast and complete evacuation of the bowels, and then the bowels become inactive. These drugs generally cause constipation after their effect, for which mild purgatives are again needed. So what they do initially, the action is quick, that is they are very fast, but ultimately this will again cause the constipation, and for that the mild purgatives are then again needed or required. So these purgatives should not be used for constipation. The very strong purgatives, they should not be, see, whenever they are taken from by the patient in the form of urine or in form of any other form, What they cause such type of cramps in the body. Immediate effect is there, but ultimately that will completely, disturb the internal system. These drugs are used for killing the intestinal worms and expel them out from the body. These purgatives cause the labor pain due to their quick action, so it should not be used for in the pregnancy. See, we have to take care of the uh, ailment of the patient, but if the person is like during pregnancy, this is the common factor that the women they suffer from constipation. But if such type of strong purgatives are given, this can even induce the labor pains, so they must be completely avoided during the pregnancy. Otherwise, बेनिफिट होने की बजाय नुकसान हो सकता है पेशेंट को. सो वी हैव टू टेक केयर ऑफ द स्ट्रेंथ, द एक्सटेंट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिपेशन एंड द रीजन and ultimately the condition of the patient to whom we are giving such type of a remedy. These strong purgatives, they are of further of two types: irritant or stimulant purgatives. Irritant, as the name indicates, that it shows that they must be involved in the irritation. Irritation of what? These are the drugs which act by local irritation on intestinal tract and bring about stimulation of peristaltic activity. These are the drugs which act by local irritation. For the time being, they will cause irritation. अब जब irritation होगा intestinal tract के ऊपर, what it will do? It will lead to the stimulation of the peristaltic movement or peristaltic activity, and it will be very quick in action. For example, senna, aloe, castor oil, rhubarb, etc. So these are the irritant or the stimulant. They cause irritation and then they will stimulate the peristaltic movements. Then come to the saline cathartics. What are saline cathartics? These drugs act by increasing the osmotic load of the intestine. They, like osmotic process, osmotic load of the intestine. How? By absorbing the large quantity of water and ultimately stimulate peristalsis. They will increase the osmotic load of the intestine by absorbing large quantity of water. It will be absorbed and absorbed and absorbed, and ultimately it will stimulate the peristaltic movement. The saline cathartics, they are water soluble compound and mainly inorganic chemicals. They are inorganic chemicals and they are taken with large quantity of water. They have to be taken with large quantity. In general, water has to be given in large quantities, specifically to the patients who are suffering from, who are prone to constipation. Then again, I will go into the types of laxative: bulk forming laxatives, osmotic laxatives, lubricant laxatives, and surfactant laxatives. These are the four types. इस टाइप के क्वेश्चंस कई बार आ जाते हैं कि what are like what is constipation, what are the causes for constipation, what is the meaning of the term laxative, or what do you mean by the terms laxative, purgative, or cathartics, and what are the different types of laxatives. So types of laxatives like bulk forming laxatives, osmotic laxatives, lubricant laxatives, and surfactant laxatives. Coming to the bulk forming laxative, how they act on the intestinal luminal cavity पे ये काम करेगा intestine के. They are hydrophilic. Hydro means what? Hydro means water. Philic means loving. So they are water loving. Water loving का मतलब ये दो terms होती हैं जो आपने नहीं सुनी तो चलो मैं ही बता देती हूँ. One is known as hydrophilic. Other is known as hydrophobic या फिर lipophilic. Hydrophilic term का मतलब ये है कि it is water loving or it will love water, it will absorb water. Lipophilic means either hydrophobic or lipophilic. Hydrophobic, phobia means hate. Hydro means water. Either it will be water hating or it will be lipophilic, that is lipids or oil living. So these are the two terms. Otherwise, you will also study about these terms during your course. So these bulk forming laxatives, they are hydrophilic. Hydrophilic, if they are hydrophilic, that is water loving, so they will absorb water and ultimately it will increase the bulk. Next is the bulk forming laxatives में ही है indigestible vegetable fibers. Indigestible, see, indigestible, it is an important term that they are not digested. If they are not digestible, then what they will do? Ultimately, if they are digested, they are absorbed and they will go like normal course. But if they are indigestible vegetable fibers, they will ultimately, they are not digested, so they will stimulate the peristaltic movements. And we want this thing only, that peristaltic movement should be increased, and for that case it will, if it will increase, the movement will be increased, the problem of constipation will be taken care of. Next step, what they do, bulk forming, they distend the bowel to initiate the reflex bowel activity. So distension, accumulation of water, that is the accumulation of water. So what they do, they distend the bowel and ultimately they will initiate the reflex action, that is bowel activity. जाहिर सी बात है, अगर हमारी बॉडी में कोई भी चेंज हो रहा है, कोई भी एक्सटर्नल इवेंट अगर हो रहा है, our body will react towards that. All this thing is happening in the intestine. So anything that will disturb the intestinal flora at that particular point of time, that will definitely lead to the reflex action. Reflex action of what? Reflex action of the bowel, and this activity will be initiated. Peristalsis produce defecation reflexes by increasing the fecal bulk due to their water absorbing and retaining capacity. They absorb as well as they retain water, and that is why the defecation process is enhanced or helped out. Examples for bulk forming laxatives are like wheat bran, isabgol or isabgula, that is xylem husk basically. If you must have seen it, like wheat bran. Bran means what? Choker. The main problem of constipation is like we are eating too much of refined flour. जो आटा है बिल्कुल छना हुआ खाते हैं, कोई भी चोकर उसके, द ब्रांड इज बेसिकली इट इज अ चोकर जो आप छान के खाते हैं आटे को. So if the choker is not there, if the bran is not there, it will definitely, it is not digested as it is. So this is the thing that we are taking it externally. What if you eat such type of food, then you will definitely, you will never suffer from the problem of constipation. So examples for bulk forming laxatives are wheat bran, isabgula, carboxymethyl cellulose. And again, I will tell you, they are administered with plenty of water. Because why plenty of water is required? Because they are not soluble in water. If they are not soluble in water and we are giving water, what they will do? They will swell, फूल जाएगा. And when it will swell, it will increase the bulk volume. But there are some side effects. What are the side effects of bulk forming laxatives? Like bacterial digestion of vegetable fibers within the colon, it may lead to abdominal discomfort. Sometimes it may lead to abdominal discomfort of long-term use of or too much use of this bulk forming laxative. And the next class is osmotic diuretic. What is the meaning of osmotic or osmosis? You must have heard the term. There are two types of terms when we study the chemistry. One is diffusion and the other is osmosis. So here also the osmotic process takes place, and these are the osmotic diuretic. Diuretic means which increase the release of urine from the body or the water from the body. What they will do, they will, the result of using osmotic diuretics is the bowel distension, increased peristalsis, excessively zyada, and evacuation. Bowel distension, increased peristalsis, and evacuation. They are non-absorbable. These osmotic diuretics, they are non-absorbable, indigestible disaccharides. They have osmotic action, and the examples which come under this category are sorbitol, polyethylene glycol or PEG, and lactulose. And the dose is like 10 gram twice daily with plenty of water. Again, see, there is requirement of plenty and plenty of water. Side effects इसके क्या है? They lead to flatulence, nausea, and cramps. Cramps inside the body, and too much of if the peristaltic movements are there, then it will lead to the cramps. जिसको हम अगर हिंदी भाषा में बोले तो कहते हैं कि मरोड़ उठना पेट के अंदर. तो these type of problems can be associated with osmotic diuretics. Then coming to the lubricant laxatives. लुब्रिकेशन, जैसे आपको पता होगा गाड़ी की प्रॉपर वर्किंग के लिए लुब्रिकेंट या मोबाइल ऑयल डाला जाता है. तो व्हाट दे डू, दे डिक्रीज द फ्रिक्शन, है ना. In case of automobiles, if we add mobile oil, what it does, it is a lubricant, it decreases the friction. In case of your doors or the lock and key, if the lock is not working properly or the door is making so much noise because of friction, you simply give some oil to the door and the noise is ultimately gone. Though friction is reduced actually. So, same is the case with the lubricant laxatives. What they do, they are pharmacologically inert mineral oils. See, the term pharmacologically inert mineral oils का मतलब है कि they will not cause any effect of their own pharmacologically. They are the mineral oils which are used, but they will not show any sort of pharmacological effect inside the body. They act on the intestinal lumen, that is inside the lumen of the intestine. It is a fecal lubricant and stool softeners by decreasing the water absorption from the stool. See, as I told during my previous lecture also, that in the large intestine, if the undigested food stays for a longer time in the large intestine, there is continuous absorption of water from that material, and that will lead to the hardening of the stools from that time. So it serves as the fecal lubricant, that the solid or the hard particles of the stool, they become softened by decreasing the water absorption from the stools. Stool softeners and lubricants, they promote more water and fat in the stools. Lubricate the fecal matter and the intestinal wall so that that is not affected or hindered. The examples are liquid paraffin. So how much time it has to be given? It is 15 to 30 ml per day at bedtime. Mind it, it has to be given during the bedtime only because of its consequences. In the morning, you ease yourself and then you can go to your work or for your study or anywhere else. But in the daytime, if you take it, it will be effective after a long time and you will even not be able to work properly or you will not be able to sleep properly if you take it in the morning. Leads to deficiency of fat soluble vitamins. जैसे कि हम सब जानते हैं कि the vitamins are of two types, water soluble vitamins and fat soluble vitamins. कौन कौन से होते हैं water soluble vitamins? Water soluble fat soluble vitamins are A, E vitamins. कौन कौन सा? A, E and D. अब क्या होगा? B and C, they are water soluble vitamins, and B के आगे further बहुत सारी types हैं, and vitamin C, that is ascorbic acid. So the fat soluble vitamins, you know, love begets love, fat loves fat. हाइड्रोफिलिक है तो वो हाइड्रोफिलिक को या वाटर सॉल्युबल को अपने साथ ले जाएगा, और अगर फैट सॉल्युबल है या लिपोफिलिक है तो वो फैट सॉल्युबल चीज को अपने साथ ले जाएगा. तो इसके केस में क्या नुकसान रहता है? इट मे लीड टू डेफिशिएंसी ऑफ फैट सॉल्युबल vitamins from the body. A quick recap: pharmacologically inert mineral oils, they act on the intestinal lumen. It is a fecal lubricant and stool softener by decreasing the water absorption from the stool. Stool softeners and lubricants promote more water and fats in the stool, lubricate the fecal material and intestinal walls. The example is liquid paraffin. The dose is usually 15 to 30 ml per day at bedtime, but they may lead to deficiency of fat soluble vitamins. Now coming to the next category, that is surfactant laxatives. What are surfactant? Surfactant means surface active. Surface active agent कहीं ना कहीं होते होंगे. They are known as surfactant laxatives. They are luminally active laxative. Luminally active laxative, anionic surfactant, an anionic surfactant which softens the stools by decreasing the surface tension of the fluids in the bowel. You know, surface tension, it is a surface phenomena. ठीक है, तो सर्फेक्टेंट्स क्या करते हैं? नॉर्मली अगर आप अभी फार्मास्यूटिक्स में भी आप पढ़ेंगे, सर्फेक्टेंट्स दे डिक्रीज द surface tension. ठीक है, and surface tension is the surface phenomena. So these are the anionic surfactants. They soften the stools by decreasing the surface tension of the fluids in the bowel. Sometimes they act as wetting agent for the bowel by emulsifying the colonic contents, which facilitates the mixing of water into fatty substance or feces. I repeat, sometimes these surfactant laxatives, they act as wetting agent for the bowel by emulsifying the colonic contents, which facilitates the mixing of water into fatty substance of feces. For example, docusate sodium. Docusate sodium. Then coming to the purgative. Purgative क्या है? It produces semi-fluid still or leads to watery evacuation depending upon क्या strength use कर रहे हो. ठीक है, laxative mild है, purgative थोड़ा सा strong है, and cathartics excessively strong. So it provides semi-fluid stool or leads to watery evacuation. Evacuation means बाहर निकालना. These are used for complete cleaning of bowel prior to gastrointestinal endoscopic procedures. See, कभी ऐसा भी होता है कि अगर आपकी फैमिली में कोई अल्ट्रासाउंड करवाने के लिए जाता है, ये एंडोस्कोपिक गैस्ट्रोइंटेस्टाइनल एंडोस्कोपिक स्टडीज के लिए जाते हैं, तो द योर एब्डोमेन शुड बी कंप्लीटली एम्प्टी. कई टेस्ट ऐसे होते हैं जो डॉक्टर कहते हैं सुबह आओ खाली पेट करवा के जाओ, कुछ खाया पिया नहीं होना चाहिए. और गैस्ट्रोइंटेस्टाइनल एंडोस्कोपी जहां पर करनी है, वहां पर इफ देर इज एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ मटीरियल दैट इज प्लेस्ड, अगर आपका पेट साफ नहीं हुआ है सुबह, तो डेफिनेटली आपके जो टेस्ट है उसके रिजल्ट्स नहीं मिलेंगे. इट विल इंटरफियर विद द गैस्ट्रो दिस टाइप ऑफ प्रोसीजर्स और द अल्ट्रासाउंड. सो दे हैव टू बी यूज्ड फॉर कंप्लीट क्लीनिंग ऑफ द bowel prior to gastrointestinal endoscopic procedures or some other ultrasound, you can say. So to flush out the worms of post-bedridden or post-operative patients after the use of anthelmintic drugs. कई बार ऐसा होता है because of due to one reason or the other the patient is bedridden for a longer time, or he or she has undergone some sort of surgery. So in that case, the patients are given the anthelmintic drugs. What are anthelmintic drugs? Anthelmintic means they are used for to clean out the worms from the body. कई बार जिसको कहते हैं पेट में कीड़े पड़ गए हैं या पेट में कीड़े हो गए हैं, तो for that case these helminths, they are, or these protozoa, they have to be removed. They are removed by the help of anthelmintic drugs. So if the drug has worked and the helminths are, the protozoa are killed, but if at all the patient is suffering from constipation, then what is the use of giving these type of medicines? So in those, under those circumstances, the patient has to be given such type of purgative to flush out the worms of the patient. Either they are bedridden due to one reason or the other, or the post-operative patient, or after the use of anthelmintic drugs. Cleaning the bowel before surgery, it is ultimate that the patient's tummy has to be clean before undergoing any sort of surgery. Okay? Or if the patient has to be taken abdominal x-ray, like in my previous slide, initial slide, I have shown you the X-ray of a person who is suffering from constipation. So this problem will be continued, and the cleaning of the bowel is required, perfectly required, before any sort of surgery or taking abdominal X-ray. Osmotic purgatives and irritant or purgatives are of two types: osmotic purgatives or irritant purgatives. Osmotic purgative, electrolyte osmotic purgative, and saline purgative. Osmotic purgatives are further of two types: electrolyte osmotic purgative, like some electrolyte balance has to be there. It will be disturbed or it will ultimately lead to the peristaltic motion. And saline purgative. What is electrolyte osmotic purgative? It contains non-absorbable PEG. PEG is what? Polyethylene glycol. क्या करते हैं ये? It retains water due to its high osmotic nature. These osmotic purgative, they retain water due to its high osmotic nature. It is given along with a balanced isotonic solution which contains sodium chloride, sodium bicarbonate, sodium sulfate, and potassium chloride. I repeat, it is given along with the balanced isotonic solution which contain sodium chloride, sodium bicarbonate, sodium sulfate, and potassium chloride, that is KCl. It is safer to all patients. Then come to the saline purgatives. It is soluble inorganic salt which act by increasing the fecal bulk by retaining water due to its osmotic effect, thus increasing the peristalsis indirectly. ये direct act नहीं करता. क्या करता है ये? It is soluble inorganic salt. This inorganic salt, inorganic because it is not having carbon hydrogen, so it is soluble inorganic salt which acts by increasing the fecal bulk by retaining water. Lot of water, because it is soluble in water, so it will retain water due to its osmotic effect and thus increase the peristalsis indirectly. Magnesium salts also release cholecystokinin, which is used to increase the intestinal secretions and peristalsis. Magnesium salts also release cholecystokinin, which is used to increase the intestinal secretions and peristalsis. But the common side effects of these purgatives are these saline purgatives are, it is common along with it is given along with plenty of water, because being irritant it may induce vomiting. अब इरिटेट कर रहा है, जरूरी नहीं कि इंटेस्टाइन के अलावा कहीं और इरिटेट नहीं कर सकता. इट विल इरिटेट. सो if it irritates a lot, then it can lead to vomiting also. So it is given along with plenty. It is given along with plenty of water. High osmolar property leads to intravascular fluid depletion. High osmolar property leads to intravascular fluid depletion and electrolyte disturbances. Ultimately, it will lead to disturbance of the electrolytes. Long-term usage should be avoided for hypertensive and cardiac failure patients. क्योंकि electrolytes disturb होंगे तो कहीं ना कहीं hypertension पे भी इफेक्ट आएगा इसका, और cardiac patient, जो patients who are suffering from heart diseases, that will be that can worsen the cases of such type of patients. Long-term use of magnesium for renal failure patients leads to risk of hypermagnesemia. See, as I told in my previous lecture also, emia word, it leads to it is dealt with the thing that is present in the blood. Hyper means more. Magnesia means magnesium. Emia means blood. So it will lead to increased level of magnesium in the blood in case of renal failure patients. The irritant purgatives. The examples of irritant purgatives are anthraquinone derivatives, like senna, cascara, and aloe. I repeat, anthraquinone derivatives, senna, cascara, and aloe. The oils like castor oil, the organic irritants like phenolphthalein, and bisacodyl. All these purgatives, they stimulate intestinal peristalsis due to their irritant action. What they do? They all work by inducing peristalsis due to their irritant action. Some common side effects like senaglycosides, they lead to melanosis coli on long term use. Melanosis coli is the problem that is given, that takes place because of excessive use of senaglycosides. Long term use of castor oil use leads to damaging of the intestinal mucosa. Long term use of castor oil leads to damaging of the intestinal mucosa. Bisacodyl leads to hypokalemia. Kalemia. Kalemia means level of potassium. Emia means blood. Hypo means less. So it will lead to lowering down of the level of potassium in the blood. Calcemia. अगर कैल्सीमिया वर्ड याद रखना, दो टर्म्स होती हैं, कैलीमिया एंड कैल्सीमिया. नॉर्मली स्टूडेंट्स गेट कंफ्यूज विद दिस. कैल्शियम से कैल्सीमिया है और कैलीमिया से पोटाशियम है. Saline cathartics are classified as sodium containing compounds. For example, sodium biphosphonate, sodium phosphonate, potassium sodium tartrate. सोडियम प्रेजेंट होगा इनमें कहीं ना कहीं. सोडियम कंटेनिंग कंपाउंड्स लाइक सोडियम बाइफॉस्फोनेट, सोडियम फॉस्फेट, potassium sodium tartrate. Second category is the magnesium containing compounds. Magnesium containing compounds examples are magnesium hydroxide, or it is also called as milk of magnesia, magnesium citrate, magnesium sulfate. These are all magnesium containing compounds. Sulfur containing compounds, third category. And fourth category is non-official cathartics like sodium sulfate, potassium phosphate, potassium bitartrate and calomel. मैं रिपीट कर रही हूँ उनकी क्लासिफिकेशन को. Saline cathartics are classified as sodium containing compounds like sodium biphosphonate, sodium phosphate, potassium sodium tartrate. Magnesium containing compounds, for example, magnesium hydroxide. It is also called as milk of magnesia, magnesium citrate, magnesium sulfate. Sulfur containing compounds, and fourth is the non-official cathartics like sodium sulfate, potassium phosphate, potassium bitartrate and calomel. They are not given officially. When taken usually for specific reason, saline cathartics are relatively safe. When taken casually for specific reason, saline cathartics are relatively safe. Patient on low sodium diet should avoid long-term use of sodium containing saline cathartics, because if a person is suffering from hypertension, है ना, and he or she is given low sodium diet, like low sodium salt or even low sodium salt, they are taking in a very, very mild concentration in their food. So one side they are using lesser amount of sodium, and on the other side you are giving sodium containing saline cathartics. That will definitely cause a problem. So patients on low sodium diet should avoid long term. बहुत emergency मजबूरी है, once in a life while okay, but not regularly or long term use of sodium containing saline cathartics. Patient with impaired kidney functions and mental depression should not use magnesium saline cathartics because it will directly affect the kidneys as well as it will lead to the exaggeration of the depression of the patient. Then comes this is our first compound that comes under the category, that is magnesium hydroxide. Magnesium hydroxide, the formula is MgOH2. Mg is having valency of +2, OH is having valency of -1, so its formula is MgOH twice. Coming to its preparation, it is an aqueous suspension of hydrated magnesium oxide. It is suspension, it is not dissolved in the water. So it is an aqueous suspension. Aqueous word जहाँ पर आ गया means कि इसको पानी में घोलने की कोशिश की जाती है और they are the suspended particles. So it is an aqueous suspension of hydrated magnesium oxide. Light magnesium oxide is mixed with sodium hydroxide solution to get a cream. Light magnesium MgO is mixed with sodium hydroxide solution to get a cream. It is diluted with water. The suspension is poured in a thin stream. It is diluted with water. The suspension is poured in a thin stream into a solution of magnesium sulfate with constant stirring. Continuous stirring करनी बहुत जरूरी है, and then in the form of a thin stream it is poured to the magnesium sulfate with constant stirring, and the precipitate is allowed to settle. The precipitate is allowed to settle. I will show you it in the next reaction. The clear liquid is decanted off. Decant off means decantation process means जब आप किसी compound को जो soluble नहीं है water में, so it will be suspended. When it is suspended, you have to keep it aside for some time. क्या होता है, जैसे सपोज करो आप रेत को पानी में डालते हो, रेत घुलती तो नहीं, मिट्टी तो नहीं घुलती पानी में. What will happen? If you keep it undisturbed, what happens? It will settle down. Now, if it is settled down, the liquid that is clear in the upper surface, you simply have to pour it. This process is known as decantation process. So, the clear solution, like in the previous step, the precipitate is allowed to settle. जैसे precipitate उसका बैठ गया, the clear solution, the clear liquid is decanted off. The residue is transferred into a calico filter. जो residue नीचे बचा वो इतने काम की चीज भी है. The residue is transferred into a calico filter, washed thoroughly with water until it is free from sulfate ions. Wash off हो जाएंगे, पानी के साथ निकल जाएंगे बाहर. And finally mixed with the required quantity of purified water. See, this is the equation, this is the reaction. MgO plus, अगर आप equation balancing को एक तरफ छोड़ देते हो, just keep aside, just note the basic reaction. It is reaction of magnesium oxide with water to give magnesium hydroxide, then magnesium sulfate plus sodium hydroxide. Again, it leads to formation of magnesium hydroxide and sodium sulfate. In this reaction, sodium hydroxide reacts with the magnesium sulfate. Sodium hydroxide reacts with the magnesium sulfate and gives magnesium hydroxide. In the above formula, the pharmacopoeia limits the use of following pharmaceutical aid. This formula means the pharmacopoeia permits the above formula, the pharmacopoeia permits the use of following pharmaceutical aid. Pharmaceutical aid means that will help in the formation of such type of pharmaceutical or any type of pharmaceutical ingredient, that is known as the pharmaceutical aid. 0.1% of citric acid, which is used to minimize the reaction between glass containers and milk of magnesia during storage. I repeat, 0.1% यानी कि 0.1 ग्राम in 100 ml of water. 0.1 ग्राम का मतलब है 100 milligram in 100 ml of water. So 0.1% of citric acid is used to minimize the reaction between glass containers and milk of magnesia during the storage. अब स्टोर भी तो करनी है ना कंटेन दवाई जो है, तो उसके लिए ये प्रिकॉशनरी मेजर एक यूज किया जाता है. अदरवाइज इट मे गेट डिटेरियोरेटेड. It may react with the walls of the container in which these type of drugs are stored. Otherwise, it imparts bitter taste. ठीक है? Then 0.5 ml per 1000 ml of 0.5 ml of 0.5 ml in 1000 ml or 1 liter of volatile oil as a flavoring agent is used because they are very bland in taste. So just to increase the palatability, the flavoring agent is used and it is permitted as per pharmacopoeia 0.5 ml in 1000 ml. और बताओ इसका क्या परसेंटेज बनेगा? It will come out to be 0.05%. Then 0.2% of sodium benzoate. Sodium benzoate, it is a preservative. So if you do not add any sort of preservative in a formulation, then it may be any sort of pharmaceutical formulation I'm talking about, it may get some sort of growth. So 0.2% of sodium benzoate is used and 0.125% of methyl paraben, they are also used as a preservative. So these type of pharmaceutical aids, they are permitted by the pharmacopoeia. Then coming to its assay. It is a complexometric technique is used for the assay. So how you will carry it out? Weigh accurately about 0.1 gram, that is 100 milligram, and dissolve in 20 ml of 2 molar hydrochloric acid. 2 molar hydrochloric acid will be used and dilute to 100 ml with water. क्या करना है आपने? 2 molar of hydrochloric acid लिया, 20 ml of that hydrochloric acid will be used to dissolve 0.1 gram of the drug or the material and it will be diluted up to 100 ml with water. Of course, distilled water is used in sort of any sort of formulation. We have to use the distilled water whether it is mentioned or not. To 50 ml of this solution, ये जो 50 ml ये जो solution बन गया आपका, to 50 ml of this solution, add 5 ml of strong ammonium chloride buffer. What you have to do? You have to add 5 ml of strong ammonium chloride buffer and this solution is to be titrated with 0.05 molar disodium एडिटेट. इसको एडिटा EDTA भी बोलते हैं. Disodium एडिटेट using 50 milligram of mordant black 2 mixture as the indicator. I repeat, what you have to do, you have to weigh 0.1 gram of the sample in 20 and dissolve in 20 ml of 2 molar of hydrochloric acid and dilute to 100 ml with water. To 50 ml of this solution, ये जो 100 ml बन गया, 50 ml of this solution, add 5 ml of the strong ammonium chloride buffer and titrate with 0.05 molar disodium acetate using 50 mg of mordant black 2 mixture as the indicator. Now coming to the uses, it is used as antacid as well as laxative. I told you in my previous lecture also that aluminium and calcium containing antacids, they are constipating. Okay? The magnesium containing, all the magnesium containing antacids, they are laxative. So this acts as this magnesium hydroxide, it acts as antacid as well as laxative. It is also used as alkaline mouthwash. It is used to liberate alkaloids from solution. It is used to liberate alkaloids from the solution, extract out the alkaloids. And those as antacid, it is used as 5 to 10 ml. As laxative, it is used as 15 to 30 ml. Okay? If a person is suffering from constipation and you give it as 5 to 10 ml, it will not serve the purpose of laxative. So antacid ki dose is 5 to 10%. If a person is suffering from only acidity, then if you give 15 to 30 ml, then it will lead to the loose motions. So the dose has to be decided depending upon the problem that you are dealing with. ज्यादा इंटेंसिटी जहां चाहिए वहां कम दोगे तो इफेक्ट नहीं आएगा, और जहां कम इंटेंसिटी चाहिए वहां ज्यादा दे दिया तो इट विल लीड टू ओवर रिएक्शन. So we have to take care of the problem. It should not be refrigerated. And mind it, on any sort of suspension, it is always written that you have to shake well before use. If you do not shake well, इनकी sedimentation की property, settling down की property है, so the person will not take the proper amount of dose if you do not shake it properly. Then the next compound is the magnesium sulfate. Its molecular formula is magnesium sulfate 7H2O. Magnesium sulfate, it is containing 7 molecules of water. Molecular weight is 246.5 gram. Synonym is Epsom salt, and its other name is Epsom salt. Sometimes the question comes, write the use of Epsom salt in case of constipation. So we think about what is the meaning of Epsom salt. If they are asking about Epsom salt or magnesium sulfate, that is one and the same thing. So standard, it contains not less than 99% and not more than 100.5% of magnesium sulfate, calculated with reference to dried substance. तो 99% से कम नहीं होना चाहिए और 100.5% से मैग्नीशियम सल्फेट ज्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए. It is a heptahydrate salt. As see, it is indicated here. 7 molecules of water are there. 7 means hepta. Hydrate means water. So it is a heptahydrate salt having not less than 99% and not more than 100% of magnesium sulfate. Coming to the methods of preparation, it is obtained by the reaction of sulfuric acid with magnesium carbonate or magnesium oxide. It is obtained by the reaction of, this is sulfuric acid, H2SO4 with magnesium carbonate, that is MgCO3, or magnesium oxide can also here in the next reaction, MgSO4 plus water plus carbon dioxide. The solution is filtered and the filtrate is evaporated to crystallization. Or the second statement, the second reaction is MgO, that is magnesium oxide plus H2SO4 to give magnesium sulfate and water. It is also prepared by passing sulfur dioxide, that is SO2, and air, that is O2, over precipitated magnesium hydroxide. See, it is magnesium hydroxide MgOH2 plus 2SO2 plus oxygen to give magnesium sulfate and water. From magnesite or calcined dolomite. This is the third method of preparation. From magnesite and or calcination or magnesite dolomite. The reaction of sulfuric acid with acid, magnesite or calcined dolomite, MgCO3, CaCO3 plus H2SO4. This will give to the formation of magnesium sulfate, calcium sulfate, carbon dioxide and water. Then from brine. Brine is treated with milk of lime, gives magnesium hydroxide. The sulfur dioxide, that is SO2, and air is passed through this suspension. Which suspension? Magnesium hydroxide. Then magnesium sulfate is crystalled out. The brine is treated with milk of lime, gives magnesium hydroxide. The sulfur dioxide and air is passed through this suspension of magnesium hydroxide. magnesium sulfate will be crystalled out. What are the properties of magnesium sulfate? It occurs as small, odorless, small crystals रहते हैं इसके, odorless means it has no smell of its own, and colorless crystals with cool and saline bitter taste. एक cooling, soothing सा effect आता है इसका. And if you taste it, it's a bit of saline but bitter in taste if you taste it. That is why we have to add some sort of flavoring agents to increase the palatability. Palatability means अगर आपने सस्पेंशन बनाई है और उसका टेस्ट ही इतना खराब है कि यू आर नॉट एबल टू टेक दैट पर्टिकुलर suspension or the drug or the formulation, then we have to use such type of, and they are known as the pharmaceutical aids, as I have already told. It is freely soluble in water because 7 molecules of water के साथ already attached है, and slightly soluble in alcohol. When heated gently, it loses most of its water and converted to monohydrate. See, MgSO4 7H2O, when it is heated, it loses 6 molecules of water and now it is existing as MgSO4H2O, that is monohydrate, as a white powder, of course. The assay is based upon the assay of magnesium sulfate. It is based upon complexometric titrations that dissolve. What is this complexometric titration? Because whenever there is a complex formation, and EDTA, it is a complexing agent. So such type of titrations are called as complexometric titrations. So dissolve 0.3 gram of powder in 50 ml of water. To this, 10 ml of strong ammonium chloride, that is NH4Cl solution is added and titrated against standardized 0.05 molar EDTA. Titrated against 0.05 molar EDTA mordant black 2 mixture as indicator. At the end point, color change is observed, that is, you get a blue color. I repeat the process. The assay is based upon the complexometric titration. For that, what you have to do? You have to take 0.3 gram or 300 milligram of the powder in 50 ml of water. To this, अब ये dissolve हो ही जाएगा. To this, 10 ml of strong ammonium chloride, that is NH4Cl solution is added and titrated against standardized 0.05 molar EDTA mordant black 2 mixture as an indicator. At the end, the color change is observed, that is blue color. Each 1 ml of 0.05 molar EDTA solution is equivalent to 0.00602 gram of magnesium sulfate. इसका मतलब ये है कि ये जो EDTA यूज कर रहे हैं हम टाइट्रेशन के लिए, अगर 1 ml EDTA यूज किया जा रहा है 0.05 मोल EDTA का, it is equivalent to, or it is used to neutralize or equivalent to 0.00602 gram of the magnesium sulfate. Now, there are some sort of identification test for this. Dissolve 50 milligram of the test sample in 2 ml of water. 15 milligram of the test sample, यानी कि जिसका आप टेस्ट कर रहे हो, is dissolved in 2 ml of water. Add 1 ml of dilute ammonia solution. To this, add 1 ml of dilute ammonia solution. White precipitates are formed. White precipitates are formed which get redissolved on adding. You will get white precipitates. Okay. Then these white precipitates, if you add 1 ml of 2 molar ammonium chloride solution, 1 ml of 2 molar ammonium chloride solution. They will again dissolve. After this, add 1 ml of 0.25 molar disodium phosphate. After this, when it is again dissolved, add 1 ml of 0.25 molar disodium phosphate. The white crystalline mass is obtained. I repeat the test. 15 milligram of the test sample is dissolved in 2 ml of water. After this, if it is dissolved, then add 1 ml of dilute ammonia solution. Dilute ammonia solution, white precipitates will be formed. Now to these white precipitates, add 1 ml of 2 molar ammonium chloride solution. What will happen? They will again dissolve. Then in this clear solution, again add 1 ml of 0.25 molar disodium phosphate. White crystalline mass is obtained. This is the first identification test. In the second identification test, to the 0.5 ml of the slightly acidic solution. Slightly acidic solution of this substance, and that is taken as 0.5 ml, 0.2 ml of 0.1% weight by volume solution of Titan yellow and 0.5 ml of 0.1 normal sodium hydroxide will be added. मैं repeat कर रही हूँ. To the 0.5 ml of slightly acidic solution of the substance, we add 0.2 ml of 0.1% weight by volume solution of Titan yellow and 0.5 ml of 0.1 normal sodium hydroxide. Bright red precipitates will be observed. Bright red precipitates will be observed. Now coming to the test for purity. Coming to the test for purity, the sample is tested for the presence of following impurities. Arsenic should not be more than 2 ppm. ppm means parts per million. 1 मिलियन में 2 से ज्यादा पार्ट्स नहीं होने चाहिए. किसके? आर्सेनिक के. Chloride should not be more than 300 ppm. The chloride should not be present more than 300 ppm. Iron should not be more than 200 ppm. This is the percentage that is given by and the details of these impurities will be studied in unit 1. Heavy metals should not be more than 10 ppm. So heavy metals, they should not be more than 10 ppm. Loss on ignition. Loss on ignition means loss on heating. Ignite करना means heat करना. हीट करने पे इसमें से क्या नुकसान हो सकता है? क्या चीज निकल सकती है? What can be lost? So loss on ignition, the range is 48 to 52%. 48 to 52%. This is determined by drying 1 gram in an oven at 105 degrees centigrade for 2 hours. What does it mean? It means when you heat 1 gram of the substance in an oven at 105 degrees centigrade for 2 hours, the loss in the weight will be 48 to 52%. Acidity or alkalinity. 1 gram dissolved in 10 ml of water. If you dissolve 1 gram in 10 ml of water, it is neutral to the litmus. Na acidic, na basic, kuch bhi nahi. It will be neutral. You all know that the pH range is from 1 to 14. So 1, or let us say 0 to 7 or less than 7, I should say. It is acidic, and 7, more than 7 to 14, it is basic. 7 is considered as the neutral pH. So 1 gram is dissolved in 10 ml of water. It is neutral to litmus. Clarity and color of solution. If 5 gram of magnesium sulfate is dissolved in 50 ml of water, 5 gram in 50 ml, 5 grams in 50 ml of water, it gives clear and colorless solution. Just like water, you cannot differentiate between whether it is water or it is something else. It is a clear and colorless solution. Now coming to incompatibility. It is this magnesium sulfate, it is incompatible with alkali carbonates and alkali bicarbonates. It is incompatible with alkali carbonates and alkali bicarbonates. Strong solutions are incompatible with sodium, potassium and ammonium bromide. Sodium, potassium and ammonium bromide. Storage conditions. This salt is effervescent in nature, so it should be stored in airtight container in cool place. In general, we should make it a thumb rule. अभी आप लोग लैब में प्रैक्टिकल्स भी करेंगे. Always make it a habit. Whatever salt, whatever compound you are taking for your laboratory work, you should replace the lid very tightly. Okay, so this salt is effervescent, it creates effervescence, so it should be stored in airtight container and in a cool place. Warm places पे ज़्यादातर इनको वो नहीं किया जाता है. Then uses क्या है इसके? It is widely used as oral saline cathartic. It should not be given to renal impaired patients. जहाँ पर kidney problems है जिन patients में, उनमें these magnesium sulfate should not be given. It is also used as electrolyte replenisher. Electrolyte replenisher matlab that if there is a problem or if there is imbalance between the electrolyte, then we have to give it orally so that the loss of the electrolyte that has taken place, it should be covered up. It is used as osmotic laxative. Magnesium sulfate is also used as antidote for barium, barbiturate and other types of poisoning. What is the meaning of antidote? जहर का काट निकालना. That is, if due to intentional or unintentional there is a poisoning by barium or barbiturates or some other type of poisoning, then it is used as its antidote. That means it will nullify or negate the effect of that particular type of poisoning. Due to CNS depressant property of magnesium, it is also used in hypertension and convulsions. क्योंकि जो इनबिल्ट प्रॉपर्टी है मैग्नीशियम की, दैट इज द CNS depressant property. So it is also used in case of hypertension and in case of convulsions. Convulsions में क्या hyperactive है patient. So in that case we have to decrease the effect. So to decrease that particular effect, the depressant effect has to be given, and so it may be used as a in that case. Mechanism of action, how it acts as cathartic, it does not get absorbed from the intestine, so it retains sufficient water within the lumen, which leads to increase in the hydrostatic pressure of the lumen. Lumen means cavity in which it is placed, to promote the peristalsis of the bowel. I repeat the mechanism. It does not get absorbed from the intestine. So, if it is not absorbed, क्या होगा? So it retains sufficient water within the lumen. So, lot of water will be there in the lumen, and lumen में तो problem है ना उसकी, which leads to increase in the hydrostatic pressure. It will increase the pressure because lumen cavity is same, and if more and more water is retained, it will increase the thrust or the pressure, the hydrostatic pressure of the lumen, to promote the peristalsis of the bowel. Then comes next drug is the magnesium carbonate. Magnesium carbonate, the formula is MdCO3. It is prepared by double decomposition of magnesium sulfate and sodium carbonate. Double decomposition of magnesium sulfate MgSO4 and sodium carbonate Na2CO3. 120 parts of magnesium sulfate and 150 parts of sodium carbonate are used. Dissolving in boiling water separately. What you have to do? You have to take 125 parts of magnesium sulfate, dissolve in boiling water. 150 parts of sodium carbonate, dissolve in boiling water. Separately. In one beaker, the magnesium sulfate, in the other beaker, sodium carbonate. Then the two solutions are mixed together. Boiling water में आपने dissolve कर लिया, then they are mixed together. Filtered, then washed and evaporated and dried. Magnesium sulfate, sodium carbonate, magnesium carbonate and sodium sulfate. This is the basic reaction for preparation. Then preparation of light magnesium carbonate. 125 parts of magnesium sulfate solution is mixed with 150 parts of sodium carbonate in cold water. वहाँ पे हमने hot water use किया था. Here it is cold water. Heated for 5 minutes. When they are mixed together, heated for 5 minutes, precipitate is collected. After heating, the precipitates will be there and they will be collected, washed until gives a slight reaction of sulfate and dried in an oven. What are the uses? It is used as antacid, osmotic laxative. It is also used as a pharmaceutical aid. It is slow acting antacid. That is during pregnancy and lactation. And it is in some other doses, it can also be, it is used as basically, it is used as a cathartic. So the dose is as antacid. See, as antacid, its dose is 300 to 600 milligram. But as a laxative, its dose is 2 to 4 grams. That means 2000 to 4000 milligram. You can see the difference. Then coming to sodium orthophosphate. Sodium orthophosphate, it is one of the phosphates of sodium which is used as a laxative to cleanse the bowels. It is one of the phosphates of sodium which is used as a laxative to cleanse the bowels, to clean out from the body. Its molecular formula is Na2HPO4, 12 water molecules. It is having 12 water molecules and its molecular weight is 358.14. Synonyms are disodium hydrogen phosphate, sodium orthophosphate, or sometimes the students get confused that what is the disodium. They feel that the disodium hydrogen phosphate, it is different from sodium orthophosphate. So sodium orthophosphate and disodium hydrogen phosphate, they are one and the same thing. Standards. It contains not less than 98.5% and not more than 101, that is 101% of Na2HPO4, that is sodium orthophosphate, which is calculated with reference to the substance dried at 130 degrees centigrade, which is calculated with reference to the that is considered as a standard. So, उस standard का which is being dried at 130 degrees centigrade, in accordance with that standard, it cannot be less than 98.5% and cannot be more than 101%. Now coming to the method of preparation. It is a sodium salt of orthophosphoric acid. Sodium salt of orthophosphoric acid or phosphoric acid, that is H3PO4. एक ही बात है. It is a sodium salt of, here you can see sodium salt of Na2 is sodium salt of H3PO4. It is formed by the reaction of orthophosphoric acid with sodium hydroxide in calculated amount. See, H3PO4, that is orthophosphoric acid, sodium hydroxide to give Na2HPO4 2H2. यानी कि कुल मिला के आप कह सकते हो कि H3PO4 में से we have taken out 2 hydrogens and replaced with 2 sodium. So it is Na2HPO4 plus 2 H2O. Now coming to industrial preparation. Industrial preparation in industries, it is prepared by a two-step process by treatment with calcium biphosphate, that is calcium CaHPO4 with sodium bisulfate NaHSO4, which precipitate calcium sulfate and monosodium phosphate, that is NaH2PO4, remains in the solution form. I repeat, see, it is NaH2PO4 और हमें क्या चाहिए Na2HPO4. So it is prepared in the two step. ये पहला step है इसका, by treatment with calcium biphosphate, that is CaHPO4 with sodium bisulfate, that is NaHSO4, which precipitate calcium sulfate, that is CSO4, and monosodium phosphate, that is NaH2PO4, remains in the solution form. This is the step 1. In the second step, the resulting solution of monosodium phosphate, जो बना हुआ हमारा first step में, the resulting solution of monosodium phosphate is partially neutralized and finally results in the formation of sodium orthophosphate. This monosodium phosphate that is formed in the first step, it is neutralized with or partially neutralized with sodium hydroxide. So what will happen? It will lead to the formation of Na2HPO4 plus H2O. यही चीज हमको चाहिए, that is Na2HPO4, that is sodium orthophosphate or disodium hydrogen phosphate. Hydrogen phosphate is HPO4. Two atoms of sodium are there, so it is disodium hydrogen phosphate. Coming to its physical properties, it occurs as colorless, odorless and transparent crystals. कोई color नहीं है इसका. There is no smell of its own. आप बेशक आप smell करके देख लो, you will not find any sort of smell. And these are the very fine transparent crystals. It is anhydrous salt. Its anhydrous salt is hygroscopic in nature. It can easily absorb water, attract water. Hygroscopic means it attracts water. तो अगर आप 100% भी इसको water free रख रहे हो, anhydrous है, and if you keep it as it is in the moisture containing environment, it will absorb water. It is insoluble in alcohol but soluble in water. Of course, if it is hygroscopic, that is why it will be soluble in water. It will easily attract water molecules. In aqueous solution, it has a pH between 8 to 11. 8.0 to 11.0, that is, it is moderately basic. On heating over 300 degrees centigrade, it is converted into sodium pyrophosphate. On heating at 300 degrees centigrade, it is converted into sodium pyrophosphate. Na2HPO4 at 300 degrees centigrade, it will lead to the formation of Na4P2O7. Chemical properties की अगर हम बात करते हैं, तो on hydrolysis, it yields sodium hydroxide and phosphoric acid back from which it is formed. So on hydrolysis, it is formed from phosphoric acid as well as sodium hydroxide. So on hydrolysis, it yields sodium hydroxide and phosphoric acid. See, Na2HPO4 hydrolysis means plus 2H2O, it will lead to the formation of H3PO4 2NaOH, from where these are formed. On heating, it gives pyrophosphate as shown in the previous slide. Okay, at 300 degrees centigrade, it will lead to formation of pyrophosphate. That is Na4P2O7. On heating with ammonium chloride, table salt is formed. Na2HPO4 plus NH4Cl, that is ammonium chloride. When it will react with ammonium chloride, it will lead to the formation of NaCl. Sodium chloride, it is also called as table salt, जो कि हम लोग अपने खाने में खाते हैं. That is none other than the sodium chloride. Plus NaNH4HPO4. This is the side product that is formed. Now coming to its acid. It is based on acid-base titrations. 6 gram of the salt is dissolved in 100 ml of water, which is then titrated with 0.5 normal H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid, using bromocresol green as an indicator at a pH of 4.5. 6 gram of the salt is dissolved in 100 ml of water, titrated with 0.5 normal H2SO4 using bromocresol green as an indicator at a pH of 4.5. The result may be expressed of the salt dried at 130 degrees centigrade, so it is neutralized to sodium acid phosphate. 2Na2HPO4 plus H2SO4 किसके साथ आप रिएक्ट कर रहे हो? It will lead to the formation of 2NaH2PO4 plus Na2SO4. So each ml of 0.5 normal H2SO4 is equivalent to 0.07098 gram of sodium phosphate, disodium hydrogen phosphate. Now coming to its identification tests, qualitative analysis जिसको बोलते हैं. To 5 ml of the neutral solution of the sample, if you dissolve it in it's a neutral solution, and 5 ml of this neutral solution, if we add 5 ml of silver nitrate solution, silver nitrate means AgNO3, a light yellow precipitate is formed. The color retains even on boiling. Light yellow precipitate will be formed, and if you boil them, the color will be retained, which is readily soluble in 10 molar ammonia solution. And if you add 10 molar of ammonia NH3 solution, and in dilute HNO3, that is nitric acid, they will be readily soluble. Those precipitates will be readily soluble. Na2HPO4 plus 3AgNO3, it will lead to formation of Ag3PO4 plus H2PO4 minus. Then this Ag3PO4, it will generate 3 silver ions, that is 3Ag plus phosphate ion, PO4 3 minus. Then this Ag plus ion will react with ammonia, that you are adding 10 molar of ammonia na, it will react with this and it will be readily soluble. AgNH3 whole twice plus, that is soluble silver diammonia complex. Test for purity. It is tested for alkalinity, arsenic, magnesium, heavy metals, chloride, sulfate, and loss on drying. So such type of things are tested because these things should not be present, or they should be present in the permissible limits that are already defined. Uses. It is used as cathartics due to poor absorption of HPO4 2 minus, that is hydrogen phosphate ion. As a pharmaceutical aid, it is used as a buffering agent. It is highly used in case of buffering agent in various preparations as well as in case of various type of analysis. For example, in case of high performance liquid chromatography, that is HPLC, if a method is to be developed, then some type of pH requirements are there. So this is used as a very active buffering agent in such type of analytical techniques. It is used in conjunction with trisodium phosphate in water softening treatment. You know, you must have heard about the hard water So that hard water is softened by using this in conjunction in association with the trisodium phosphate. It is used to treat constipation or to clean the bowel before a colonoscopy. As I already told you that if the colon is to be treated or endoscopy is to be done or carried out, so it has to be used to clean the bowel before that, because otherwise you will not get the proper results. It will interfere with the endoscopy process. Next is the kaolin. What is kaolin? It is Al2O3, 2SiO2, two water molecules. Its molecular weight is 250. See, it is just like a plastic type of material, it looks like. Its synonyms are the China clay, the hydrated aluminum silicate. The synonyms are, if I talk about China clay or hydrated aluminum silicate, see, this is aluminum silicate, and if it is containing 2 moles of water, so it is hydrated aluminum silicate. So they are one and the same thing. Method of preparation, how kaolin, it is used for the as a protective agent also. I will tell you in my forthcoming slides. It is a hydrated aluminum silicate widely distributed in nature. So it is prepared when the rock is mined, executed, the impurities are washed with flow of water and then powdered. While rock mining, it is obtained, then the impurities are washed off completely with the flow of water and then they are powdered. Kaolin is found in two forms, heavy kaolin and light kaolin. It is it occurs in two forms, heavy kaolin and light kaolin. Therefore, the rock is elutriated with water and large size particles are separated. The rock is elutriated with water and large sized particles are separated out. The turbid liquid is allowed to settle. When you get that turbid liquid, the opaque liquid, it is allowed to settle. Heavy kaolin containing large particles and colloidal kaolin containing particles of small size are separated and dried. Okay. Then coming to the physical properties of kaolin. Kaolin is a slightly plastic-like and is normally white in color. See, appearance-wise, it will look like a plastic material is there. Okay. It is slightly plastic-like and is normally white in color. It is an earthy or clay-like taste. Just like, for example, जिसको हम कहते हैं मिट्टी का taste, बिल्कुल. So if you taste it, it is just like a clay-like taste. Its color may be tinged gray, yellow brown, blue or red due to presence of impurities. अगर pure है तो it will be white in color, but if it is having some impurities, then it may be yellow brown, blue or red or tinged gray. A little bit of gray shade will be there. It is soapy to touch. If you touch it, it will be just like as you are touching a soap, and surface takes high polish on rubbing. When you rub it, okay, it looks like it is polished one. When moistened with water, it produces a dark color. अगर इसके पानी लगा दोगे ना तो it will be lead to the it will appear as a dark colored before it is being touched with water or before it came in contact with the water. Coming to the chemical properties of kaolin, on heating, kaolin loses water molecules. See, kaolin क्या है? It is having two molecules of water, and if you heat it, then water will be lost. It is decomposed by prolonged boiling or treatment with concentrated sulfuric acid. So if you keep on boiling and boiling and boiling, so or if you treat it with concentrated sulfuric acid, then it will be decomposed and it will be devoid of its activities. Kaolins are used as adsorbents and increase the bulk of feces. Okay, they are used as adsorbent. I will explain you in the forthcoming section. Kaolin absorbs toxins from the alimentary canal. See, this is the importance of this thing, that how it is used as a adsorbent or as a protective. So it absorbs toxins from the alimentary canal or alimentary tract and is thus beneficial in the diarrhea. Kaolin has also been used in the treatment of chronic ulcerative colitis. It is a sort of, it is a type of what you call inflammation of the colon. So what happens? A lot of pain is there, and it is in case of chronic patients. So it is a ulcerative colitis. It is used in the treatment of those patients, and it is used to soothe an upset stomach. It is used to uh, give relief in case of an upset stomach. Then coming to bentonite. Bentonite, it is just like a powder is like this. It is Al2's Al2O3 4SiO2 with the molecule of water. And what is the difference between this and kaolin? Al2O3, 2 SiO2 and 2 water. And here Al2O3, 4 SiO2 and 1 water. So its molecular weight is 422.286. Its synonym is clay. Okay. It is a hydrated material having swelling and absorptive property. फूल जाती है एकदम से ये. It has got a swelling as well as absorptive properties. Its powder mask has a binding property. It causes binding when it's uh, the mask of its powder. It is having a binding property. It has excellent plasticity and lubricity. It has excellent plasticity and lubricity. It has high shear and comprehensive strength. It has a high shear and comprehensive strength. It has low permeability and low compressibility. Penetration is not easy, so it has a low permeability. Permeation power is very low and low compressibility. It cannot be compressed further. It has good dry sealing properties. Now coming to swelling, I told now that it has got high swelling capabilities here. So what is the swelling factor? Swelling factor is measured by dropping from the top. It is measured by dropping from the top. Add 2 gram of bentonite, 2 gram of bentonite in 10 portions at intervals of 2 minutes. Add 2 grams of bentonite in 10 portions at interval of 2 minutes to 100 ml of water in a 100 ml graduated cylinder about 3 centimeter in diameter. Normal graduated cylinder, okay? Then you are adding 2 gram in 10 portions of the water at an interval of 2 minutes. Allow each portion to settle before adding the next. Whenever you are adding it, settle down, let it settle down for some time before adding the next proportion. So allow each of the portion to settle before adding the next and let it stand for 1 day. 1 day. Bentonite swells up at the bottom and it should occupy an apparent volume of not less than 24 ml. You see, in case of that 100 ml graduated cylinder, you are putting bentonite, and after some time, after a day, you will feel that it has, because it has absorbed moisture, it has absorbed water. So from the base, you will see the 24 ml portion will be covered by this swollen bentonite. Now coming to bentonite as cathartics. Bentonite clay has negatively charged molecules. This is basically, it is a clay. It has negatively charged molecules which give adsorptive properties to it, which gives there is a difference between adsorption and absorption. Adsorption means it is a surface phenomena and absorption means it's a bulk phenomena. Okay? So bentonite clay has negatively charged molecules or particles which give absorptive properties to it and make it medicinally useful. It has the ability to pass through the intestinal tract. जो GIT tract intestine का tract है, it has the ability to pass through that tract and attract the toxins which are positively charged. Now you will say that how these toxins come? These toxins, because in the GIT when you ingest something, if normally the hydrochloric acid is so concentrated that it can destroy some sort of toxins, but if there is some infection or if those toxins are not damaged by the HCl, they will ultimately through the alimentary canal, they will reach the intestine. What will happen there? They will be positively charged and these bentonite, it is already present there, it will lead to the absorption of those toxins which are positively charged. When they are in contact with each other, they swap ions, that means they exchange ions and are bound together and the toxic molecule is absorbed by the clay molecule. The toxic material, this is what we actually want, that the toxic material should be got rid of. So it is absorbed by the clay molecule and when it will get out of the body, toxins will be released as such. So it is used as cathartics due to its absorption properties. It is used as cathartic due to its absorption properties. It can remove toxic metals and chemicals following the radiation treatments. Like when the radiation treatment is there, some toxic metals or chemicals they may reach the body. So it can. This has got bentonite. It has got the capability to remove those toxins which are toxic metals or the chemicals. It promotes healthy bacteria balance and detoxify the digestive system. Healthy bacteria, in our digestive system, in the intestine, there are so many bacteria, the good bacteria which are present. But somehow, if some bacterial infection is there or some toxins are there, so this bentonite, this helps in the promotion of the generation of the healthy bacteria, the balance between the good and the bad bacteria, I should say, and they detoxify the digestive system. Ultimately, detoxification is done. It also supports in liver detoxification. When liver detoxification of liver is carried out, it also helps in that. It is used as antidote. It is used in the mercury poisoning also. Antidote as an antidote, it is used in the mercury poisoning. So, if a person by mistake has ingested mercury, it is used as the antidote for that. It also helps in the colon cleansing. As I told you, it is used for the cleansing of the digestive system and the colon cleansing is done because before colonoscopy, it is given to the patient. As a pharmaceutical aid, it is also used as a binder if chemically compatible with other ingredients. See, we cannot use or we cannot mix up any sort of pharmaceutical ingredients on our own. We have to go through the chemical nature of the compounds which are used and they should not be at any cost, they should not be chemically incompatible with each other. So it can be used as a pharmaceutical aid, as a binder, provided there is no chemical incompatibility with the active ingredients or other ingredients. Now coming to the difference between kaolin and bentonite, what is the difference between the two? Most of the times, I should say some of the times, the students get confused like We read about kaolin. It is also a clay. Bentonite is also clay. So how to differentiate between the two? Kaolin, it is a clay that is rich with kaolinite mineral. Kaolinite mineral. Bentonite is the form of mineral which mainly consists of montmorillonite. Montmorillonite is present in bentonite and kaolinite is present in the kaolin. The formula is entirely different. Although the composition is same, but the amount that is present, Al2O3, SiO2, all these are, and the water molecules, they are different in these two, so there is no question of getting confused. Kaolin consists of tetrahedral silica sheets and octahedral. Tetra means 4, octa means 8. So kaolin consists of tetrahedral silica sheets and octahedral sheets of alumina. Silica is there, alumina is there. Silica is present as tetrahedral sheet, and alumina is present as octahedral sheet. One silica sheet links to an octahedral alumina sheet via an oxygen atom. One silica sheet links to an octahedral. Silica क्या है? Tetrahedral. Alumina is octahedral. So one silica links to an octahedral alumina sheet via an oxygen atom, which is used as a linker. But in case of bentonite contains three alternating layer structure which has the central octahedral alumina. Alumina octahedral ही होगा, but it will be placed in the center and it will be combined by two tetrahedral silica sheets. वहां पर one alumina sheet, one silica sheet, and in case of bentonite, it is the alumina sheet is in between and surrounded by two tetrahedral silica sheets. Kaolin forms as a result of withering of aluminum silicate minerals such as feldspar. Kaolin forms as a result of weathering of aluminum silicate minerals. जो aluminum silicate minerals है, like feldspar, it is obtained from there. Bentonite forms from volcanic ash in the presence of water. From the volcanic eruptions जहाँ पर होती है ना, वहाँ से the bentonite is formed as a ash in the presence of water. Now coming to my next topic, that is protectives and adsorbents. We have discussed about, if I am talking about the GIT agents, we have discussed about in the previous lecture about the acidifiers, about the antacids. Okay, then in this lecture we have focused upon the constipation and how to get rid of the constipation. But there is one more thing, that is there is due to excessively, if constipation is that too much absorption of water by the intestine and the stool gets hard and difficult to pass. But what happens if no amount of the water is absorbed by the large intestine, so the water will be released as such from the body. That will lead to the diarrhea. So protectives and adsorbents are used in that. This group of gastrointestinal agents is commonly used for the treatment of mild diarrhea. The diarrhea, that is, what is diarrhea? It is abnormal frequent passage of loose stool or abnormal passage of stools with increased frequency, fluidity and weight, or with increased stool water excretion. So diarrhea is that condition only. There are certain causes of diarrhea. Diarrhea may be acute or chronic. Acute diarrhea can be caused by bacterial, toxins, chemical poisoning, drugs, allergy, or some disease. Chronic diarrhea, it can result from GIT surgery, carcinomas, chronic inflammatory conditions, and various absorptive defects. Water absorption ही नहीं हो रहा, सारे का सारा as it is getting out of the body. With chronic diarrhea, there is usually more time to locate the cause. With chronic diarrhea, there is usually more time to locate the cause. पुराना ही चला आ रहा है तो फिर समझने में थोड़ा सा टाइम लगेगा. Acute diarrhea, It is sudden onset in a previously healthy person. Lasts for 3 days to 2 weeks, not more than that. It is self-limiting also and resolves without sequel. Chronic diarrhea, it lasts for more than 3 weeks. Chronic case हो गया कहते हैं ना किसी चीज का. Acute means severe and not for the long term. Chronic means lasts for more than, in the case of chronic diarrhea, it lasts for more than 3 weeks. It is associated with recurring passage of diarrheal stools, fever, loss of appetite, nausea, vomiting, weight loss, and chronic weakness. Obviously, if the body is not able to retain the material that we are consuming for our nutrition, then ultimately it will lead to the weakness of the patient. Now, coming to the antidiarrheal agents, the antidiarrheal agents will only treat the symptoms and occasionally the cause, but they will not treat the complications. Occasional symptomatic relief is okay, but they will not treat the complications. Classified according to the mechanism of action into adsorbents, anticholinergics, opiates. Antidiarrheal mechanism of action of adsorbents, because here we are discussing about the protectives and adsorbents. So they coat the wall of the GIT. They bind to the causative bacteria or toxin. Now, if that is bound, so it will be eliminated through the stool and the diarrhea will be recovered. The patient will be recovered. The examples are bismuth subsalicylate, that is pepto-bismol, kaolin pectin, activated charcoal, attapulgite or chiopectate. Most products of the treatment of diarrhea will consist of adsorbent protective, antispasmodic, because there are a lot of spasms are there while the patient is suffering from diarrhea. So an adsorbent protective should be there, antispasmodic should be there, and possibly an antibacterial, because that is a causative agent for the diarrhea. Na? So these three things should be there. The adsorbent protective supposedly absorbs toxins, bacteria and viruses along with the providing a protective coating of the intestinal mucosa. They include bismuth salts, special clays and activated charcoal. Coming to bismuth containing products, the use of bismuth salts as antidiarrheals seem to be supportedly chiefly by tradition. Bismuth subcarbonate has also found some use as an antacid. The bismuth salts used as antidiarrheals are considered to be water insoluble. A small amount goes into solution. The intestinal hydrogen sulfide acts upon the bismuth salts to form bismuth sulfide and the black stools resulting from the oral administration of bismuth containing preparations. The bismuth containing preparations like bismuth subcarbonate BiO2CO3, it is topically used as protective in the lotions and ointments, internally as astringent and absorbent, and it is used as adsorbent in enteritis, that is जो infection होती है एंटरियों की, diarrhea, dysentery, ulcerative colitis, in wound dressing. Bismuth subnitrate, milk of bismuth, non-official bismuth compounds like bismuth subgallate, bismuth subsalicylate and bismuth ammonium citrate. See, this is again the kaolin that I had already discussed in the previous section, and it is used as the adsorbent. It is usually found together with the vegetable carbohydrate, pectin, and used as an adsorbent. Kaolin contains products have been reported to interfere with the intestinal absorption of lincomycin. The activated charcoal, it is used as an adsorbent in the treatment of diarrhea. It is now recommended antidote in the certain types of poisonings too. There are some other antidiarrheal agents, but they are not actually the adsorbents, like mechanism of action of anticholinergic. They decrease intestinal muscle tone and peristalsis of GIT. They result in slow of the movement of fecal matter through the GIT. Examples are belladonna alkaloids, atropine. Mechanism of action of opiates. As you know, in the constipation case, we discussed that opiates leads to the constipation. So in case of diarrhea, if these opiates are given, but they are not recommended actually. They decrease bowel motility and relieve rectal spasms decrease transmit time through the bowel, allowing more time for water and electrolyte to absorb. The examples are opium tincture, codeine loperamide, diphenoxylate, etc. Limited. Side effects of antidiarrheal agents like increased bleeding time, constipation, dark stools, confusion, twitching, hearing loss is there, and tinnitus and metallic taste. There are some interactions with the antidiarrheal agents also, like adsorbents decrease, the absorption of many agents including digoxin, clindamycin, quinidine, and hypoglycemic agents. Adsorbents cause increased bleeding time when given with anticoagulants. So that is also one of the interaction. And antacids can decrease effects of anticholinergic, antidiarrheal agents. These are some of the references. Coming to the questions, they can be asked as what are the cathartics, define laxative. I have already explained you or told you the question. Define laxative, purgative, cathartics. What is the difference between the intensity of these? Give the ideal properties of saline cathartics. Then mention any two examples of cathartics along with their uses. Two, three, four, these types can be used. Discuss different types of cathartics. Explain the physical properties, assay, identification for magnesium sulfate. Write a note on sodium orthophosphate, kaolin, bentonite, or what are the protective agents, what are